I'm doing the week before perception lookup assignment, explaining the perception process, starting with step one, which is going to be selection. Selection is when you pick things from your surroundings that you most likely are going to find audibly or visually stimulating or pleasing, or things you find important. For example, you're more likely to pay attention to your professor if he or she is engaging with the class, making jokes, making funny comments, and it's just an interesting lecture rather than them just being monotone and going through the notes and class ending. Or if you come home from school every day and you talk to your mom when you get home and then one day she's not talking, that's something that you're going to focus your attention on because you're used to habitually speaking to your mom every day, and then one day out of the blue she doesn't feel like talking. The second step is going to be organization. So once you've picked something to focus on, your brain is going to use your senses to gather information about what you're focusing on. So my previous example, your mom isn't talking to you after school, she isn't being as interactive, so you maybe notice her posture, maybe notice that she's not getting up as much as she usually does, she's just keeping to herself. So aspects like that of your surroundings, your brain is going to pick up. So in the third step, which is interpretation, your brain is going to start assigning meaning to the information you've gathered. So in my previous example I've been using, as you're noticing your mom's posture, you're noticing that she's not getting up or interacting with others as much, you're going to start to realize that your mom is probably upset and your brain is going to want to know what's wrong with her. So what you select determines how you organize it. How you organize it is going to determine how you're going to interpret it, and how you interpret it is going to determine and affect how you respond to it. The people in the lookup video are limiting their perception process by limiting their first step, selection. They are only going to be able to select things to focus on from their mobile device that they are enchanted by. They're limiting their opportunities in the world around them and what they can accomplish in real life, not over the phone or on the web. They're choosing to interact through a phone rather than face-to-face interaction with real people, real tangible people. So the people in the video are present, but they are not present within their real life surroundings. They are present through social media or whatever website they're using. They are choosing to not have a real life. They have built a life for themselves online through social media and websites similar to social media where you can interact with others. They are just honestly just limiting what they can do with their actual lives. You could walk by someone on the street and that could be your next boss, your next employer, and you would never know that because you are so enveloped in your phone that you would never get to have that experience of meeting them. I feel like, unfortunately, this type of interaction does affect my life. Actually, last night I was at dinner with my boyfriend, and we were both Snapchatting each other, oh, that wasn't a good picture, delete that. Oh, that wasn't a good picture, delete that. Like, when we just needed to put our phones down and focus on one another. And I said that. I was like, why are we wasting our time taking stupid pictures of each other that we don't care about? Like, I was like, let's just put the phones down and talk to one another. So it does, unfortunately, affect my life. I also have a 3-year-old brother who is on his little, he calls it his laptop, but it's it's a tablet that he plays on. He listens to Baby Shark constantly on that thing, but he himself, he's only 3 years old and he's already so connected to the internet, and it's really sad to see. I try to take him out and get him to do things and play with others, but most of the time he is on his tablet. I feel like social roles are very heavily affected by perceptual accuracy. Like, for example, if you're in class and let's say you have an issue at home and you're on your phone texting your mom, your teacher is going to be offended that you are texting during class, but they don't know what you have going on at home and you're just trying to make sure that everything's okay. Or on a negative aspect, if you're in a meeting and you couldn't care less about the meeting and you're sitting on your phone, whoever you're having the meeting with is going to think that you don't think it's important, so they're not going to value being there as much, and you're really hindering your opportunities through that. The perception you have of someone else doesn't even have to be affected by what they say or what they're doing, but just how they present themselves altogether. If your teacher comes in flip-flops and a raggedy pair of shorts, you're going to view them as unprofessional, and therefore you're going to doubt their knowledge and doubt what they're teaching you. You're not going to take them as seriously. So even simple things such as how you're dressed in certain situations can affect how others perceive you and affect how others see your social role. One of my personal biggest social roles is a student, and I try to exemplify being the best student as possible by paying attention, by nodding my head, giving visual cues to the teacher, professor, that I am being attentive and listening to their lecture. So I hope that the perceptual accuracy that my teacher has of me is pretty accurate, because I try really hard to exemplify qualities of a good student. I most certainly think that technology use is going to affect our future in interpersonal communication. Conference meetings are going to take place more so over FaceTime rather than face-to-face contact and actual meetings with one another. Calling others over the phone in general has become such a rarity compared to what it used to be. Like, everybody would just rather send a text to say what they have to say. No one even calls each other to have that personal connection of hearing someone's tone and their voice. So I think it's definitely going to hinder us in the future when people are going to be more scared to talk to others face to face. People are going to be more afraid to speak out in front of others. The involvement in our phones and in the internet is already too much. We are too involved in our phones and not involved enough in our surroundings and what is going on in real life. I feel like people need to talk to their grandparents more, need to reach out to their family members more, because you're not going to have those people forever, and one day you're going to regret spending all your time on your smartphone instead of reaching out to your family. I can only imagine that this reliance on our phones is going to grow in the future, and there's going to be less face-to-face communication, unfortunately. I hope that people can realize to put down the phone, and instead of tweeting how they feel about something, getting up and doing an actual action, doing what they say we need to be doing online, going out and doing it in person. There's plenty of rants online, plenty of opinions online, but people aren't actually going out and expressing those and trying to make a change in whatever they're voicing over on the internet. So it would be nice if people could put down the phones, but I don't see that happening, so I definitely think it's going to affect our future.